So, usually when we talk about diagnosing a problem, there's this baseline expectation of precision. Think about engineering or medicine. You break your arm, right? The x-ray shows this jagged white line, and the doctor literally just points at the film and says, there it is.
Right, yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
visible. You don't have to guess if the bone is fractured or not. The evidence is just right there in front of you.
Exactly. But then you step onto a golf course and you hit this terrible slice deep into the woods, and suddenly that diagnostic clarity just completely vanishes. You're standing there looking at your club, wondering, what on earth just happened?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for a century, diagnosing a golf swing was essentially just an exercise in educated guessing.
Yeah, but looking at this 3D skeletal overlay you've pulled up on the simulator right now, it is just staggering how much invisible data is actually hiding inside a swing that takes, what, 2 seconds?
Barely 2 seconds, yeah. And for the longest time, that data just stayed hidden. Coaches and players were forced to rely on just the naked eye.
Yeah.
They were trying to process these extremely complex biomechanical movements happening at over 100 miles per hour.
Which is humanly impossible, really.
Right.
So today we are looking at how those guessing games are finally ending. We're diving into a really massive shift in modern golf education, and our source material today is a vision statement and a new initiative from PGA professional Henrik Jensch.
Yeah, it's a really comprehensive deep dive into his project.
Exactly. He's outlining the mission behind the golf247.eu channel and this completely free project called the eCoach 360-degree learning community. And the mission today is to figure out how golf coaching is moving away from these random quick fix tips toward a data-driven, globally connected learning model, and how you, listening right now, can actually shape that future.
Because we really are standing at a major inflection point in how humans learn complex physical skills. I mean, for more than 3 years, golf247.eu has been analyzing modern golf education across all these multiple platforms, and a really clear pattern has emerged. Golfers are just exhausted by quick fixes.
They really are.
They're searching for real understanding now.
Yeah, so let's start with the fundamental flaw in how this game has been taught historically. Because, a traditional coach watches you swing, looks down the fairway, and essentially asks, where did the ball go?
Right.
It's an approach that is entirely focused on the result.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that if you are only looking at the ball flight, you're really only treating symptoms.
Hmm.
You hit a slice, and a traditional coach might just tell you to strengthen your grip or aim further left.
Yeah.
But Hendrick's initiative argues that modern instruction has to focus entirely on the cause.
Right, the root of the issue.
Exactly. It's not about the ball. It's about the biological machine that's moving the ball.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it's kind of like taking a painkiller for a persistent headache versus, say, getting a full functional MRI to see what's actually misfiring neurologically.
That is a great analogy, yeah.
Right. Instead of just asking if the ball went straight, modern coaches are looking at the biomechanics. They're asking, how did the pelvis and thorax interact? Or what happened during the transition? They're looking at ground reaction forces, which, honestly, that phrase alone sounds incredibly intimidating to the average weekend golfer.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like a physics textbook.
Right. I mean, how does pushing your feet into the grass actually dictate where a golf ball flies?
Well, if we break it down, ground reaction forces are just Newton's third law applied to the golf swing.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly. When a powerful golfer swings, they aren't just twisting their torso. They are actively pushing their feet down and away from the target line.
Okay.
And the ground pushes back. That upward and rotational push travels right up to the legs into the pelvis and creates this massive rotational torque.
So if a golfer is just, spinning their shoulders, they're leaking all that potential power because they just aren't using the ground as leverage.
Yeah, that is a huge trap.
Yeah.
Amateurs try to swing harder with their arms, completely ignoring the ground. And that's where kinematics comes into play.
Right, kinematics.
Yeah, so kinematics is the study of motion basically the geometry of the swing without worrying about the forces creating it. It's all about sequencing.
Okay, sequencing, right? Like the order of operations.
Exactly. When you initiate the downswing, your hips need to rotate open before your shoulders. If your shoulders fire early or your hands drop late, that sequence breaks.
Oh, wow.
By the time the club reaches the ball, the face is completely out of position. So the slice isn't really the core issue. The out-of-order kinematic sequence is the issue.
I see. But, knowing a swing is biomechanically flawed is kind of useless if you can't measure it. I mean, you literally cannot eyeball ground reaction forces with the naked eye.
No, definitely not.
So how is the average player actually supposed to capture all this invisible data?
Well, the barrier to entry for this technology has absolutely plummeted over the last 2 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we now have AI-supported coaching systems that run directly on a smartphone camera
Wow.
and 3D motion capture, which, used to require a Hollywood green screen studio and tens of thousands of dollars, that's now becoming totally accessible to just local club fetters.
Right.
Plus, launch monitors are tracking spin rate, launch angle, and smash factor on everyday public driving ranges now.
Okay, I have to push back on this though, because I see guys at my local driving range who have like $1,000 launch monitor sitting right behind them.
Oh, we all do.
Right. They have these AI apps drawing green and red angles all over their bodies on their iPhones. And yet, they still have a 15 handicap year after year.
Yep.
If we have this absolute flood of telemetry for a 2-second swing, shouldn't we all be scratch golfers by now?
Well, you've identified the exact bottleneck that Henrik points out in his vision for eCoach 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Data without synthesis is just noise.
Just noise.
Exactly. An AI app telling you your club face is 2 degrees open at impact, well, that's just a raw data point. A launch monitor telling you your spin rate is 3,500 RPMs with a driver is just a number.
Right. It doesn't tell you how to fix it.
Precisely. Most players, and honestly a surprisingly high number of teaching professionals too, they just don't know how to integrate those isolated data points into a cohesive strategy.
It's like handing a passenger the raw telemetry data from an airplane cockpit and expecting them to just land the plane.
Yes,
They can see the altitude number dropping, but they have no idea which lever controls it.
that's it perfectly. Let's look at a really concrete example of this synthesis problem from the source. Quitting.
Huh.
A player might look at a green, or maybe they use a green reading app, and they see that the surface is rolling incredibly fast. Now, the traditional surface level advice is just to hit it softer.
Right, makes sense.
But true data synthesis requires understanding how green speed changes the physics of the hole itself, specifically capture speed.
Wait, capture speed. Let's unpack that because most golfers just think about getting the ball to the edge of the cup and letting it drop. The hole is a fixed size, right?
Well, the physical diameter of a golf hole is 4¼ inches, but its effective size, the capture size, that changes based on how fast the ball is moving.
Wait, really? The hole effectively shrinks?
Yeah. If a ball arrives at the hole moving with too much speed, it will roll right over the edge because gravity literally doesn't have enough time to pull it down into the cup.
Yeah.
The faster the ball moves, the smaller the hole effectively becomes.
Oh, wow, that is wild.
And then you add a steep slope, and gravity is fighting friction in a completely different way.
So, okay, if you're putting downhill on a fast green, the ball maintains its speed longer because there is just less friction from the grass.
Exactly.
Meaning, if you miss dead center, the ball lips out because the effective size of the hole has shrunk to almost nothing.
Yeah. A player has to synthesize the green speed, the slope, and the capture speed physics to choose the correct line. You can't just rely on an app to tell you it's a 2-degree break right to left.
Right, you need the context.
You have to understand the underlying mechanics of how pace dictates line. If you change the speed, you change the capture size, which entirely changes the line you have to take.
That makes so much sense. And this need for synthesis applies really heavily to equipment too, doesn't it? Henrik brings up club fitting as a major area of confusion.
Huge area of confusion.
Because, you might have two golfers who both swing a driver at exactly 100 miles per hour. One golfer gets, say, 20 extra yards out of a specific stiff shaft, and the other golfer uses the exact same club and just starts hitting terrible snap hooks.
Yep.
If the swing speed is identical, the basic data suggests they need the exact same equipment.
Right. But swing speed is a singular metric. Synthesis requires looking at how they load the shaft during the transition from the backswing to the downswing.
The transition, okay.
Yeah. One player might have a really smooth, sweeping transition gradually building force. The other might have this violent, aggressive transition that just violently snaps the club downward.
Ah, I
The
see.
aggressive swinger plexes that shaft entirely differently, which changes exactly where the club head is at the exact moment of impact. So a piece of technology provides the swing speed number, but a human has to synthesize the transition dynamics to find the right equipment.
So because technology alone isn't solving this integration problem, Golfers are basically left stranded with a giant pile of data they can't even use.
Exactly. And this is exactly where the eCoach360 learning community and learning portal comes into play.
Right. It's a completely free platform Henrik has been building for years, specifically designed to be the antidote to all this noise. It's supposed to be a space where these interconnected variables can finally be mapped out.
Yeah. And we really have to draw a sharp contrast here between a dedicated learning portal and the kind of golf advice you find just scrolling through social media.
Oh, for sure.
Because platforms like Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts, they are engineered for retention through quick entertainment. They prioritize 15-second swing fixes.
Oh, I see those all the time. Do this one weird trick with your lead wrist to fix your slice forever.
Exactly. And those videos, they provide a quick dopamine hit. You feel like you've learned a secret without actually having to put in any cognitive effort.
Right.
But real physical learning, actually changing a motor pattern you have repeated 10,000 times, is uncomfortable. It requires sustained inquiry.
Yeah, you have to really work at it.
You have to experiment, measure the feedback,
Yeah.
realize your experiment failed, and try again. It demands that you change deeply entrenched neurological beliefs about how your own body moves in space.
Which you definitely cannot rewire in an Instagram comment section.
No, definitely not. The format itself prevents deep learning.
So Henrik designed eCoach 360 as this environment for everyday golfers, PGA professionals, club fitters, and tech enthusiasts to actually sit down and hash out these really complex ideas. Things like ground reaction forces, mental performance psychology, distance control, AI integration.
But the challenge with any forum or portal is the ghost town effect.
Oh, yeah, where people join, post twice, and then just abandon it because there's no ongoing leadership.
Exactly. So to counteract that, Henrik is personally committing to posting new content and driving discussions 3 to 4 times a week. He is actively steering the curriculum to ensure the platform stays educational and vibrant.
That's huge because the platform can have the best architecture in the world and a really dedicated founder, but it remains an empty vessel without the community itself, which brings the focus directly to you, the person listening to this deep dive right now.
Exactly.
Golf247.eu and the eCoach 360 community aren't designed to be some one-way lecture. Henrik wants you to dictate the curriculum. When you join, you are supposed to tell them exactly what you need to research.
Yeah, and the scope of inquiry is completely open. No topic is considered too basic.
Right.
If a beginner joins and says, hey, I'm incredibly confused by the actual rules of golf when I drop a ball in a hazard, well, that is a valid and necessary discussion. The community is there to demystify the game at every single level.
But on the flip side, no topic is too advanced either. Like, if you want to dissect the biomechanics of early extension, that really frustrating habit of standing up and thrusting your hips toward the ball right before impact, you can dig into that.
Well, early extension is a great example.
I mean, why do people even do that? It feels like the total opposite of an athletic move.
Well, what's fascinating here is that early extension is almost always a subconscious compensation.
A compensation.
Yeah. If a golfer's kinematic sequence is flawed early in the downswing and the club shaft gets too steep, the brain realizes that if the body just keeps rotating, the club will slam directly into the dirt behind the ball.
Oh, wow. So it knows a crash is coming.
Exactly. So the brain fires a signal to stand up, thrust the hips forward, and create space for the arms to swing past. It is actually an athletic save for a biomechanical error.
That is wild.
Right. But most players just try to force themselves to stay bent over, which just results in hitting the ground. You actually have to fix the steep shaft to cure the early extension.
That is fascinating. The error is actually the brain trying to save you from a much worse mistake.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at another highly requested topic from the outline. Kinetic sequencing. I think pretty much every amateur wants to know how tour professionals look so incredibly smooth. I mean, they look like they are swinging at, 50% effort and they hit a drive 320 yards.
Easily, yeah.
Meanwhile, the amateur is swinging out of their shoes, grunting, and it maybe goes 220 yards.
Right. That is the illusion of
It's
efficiency.
the illusion of efficiency.
Yeah. The amateur is usually contracting every single muscle in their arms and upper body
Yep.
simultaneously. It feels really powerful to them, but massive muscular tension actually slows the club down. The tour professional, on the other hand, is employing perfect kinetic sequencing. They create energy from the ground, move it to the hips, and then, and this is crucial, they forcefully decelerate their hips.
They decelerate. I thought the entire goal was to rotate as fast as humanly possible through the ball.
You think so,
Yeah.
but that sudden deceleration acts like the handle of a whip stopping. When the hips hit the brakes, it snaps the energy upward into the torso. Then the torso rotates and sharply decelerates, snapping the energy into the arms.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. Finally, the arms decelerate, whipping the club head into the ball at maximum velocity. It is just a chain reaction of speed and sudden braking.
The whip effect.
Yeah.
So it's not about sustained muscular pushing at all. It's a sequence of energy transfers.
Exactly.
That is why it looks effortless. They're just letting physics do the heavy lifting instead of brute strength.
Yeah, and understanding that concept completely changes how you practice. You stop trying to swing harder and you start trying to sequence better.
Right.
And that's the kind of profound realization that comes from a community dedicated to data and movement analysis, rather than a community dedicated to, quick tips. When players finally understand the why, they can finally fix the how.
So what does this all mean for the everyday player? I mean, why does this matter beyond just hitting a white ball into a hole?
Right.
It means that joining the golf247.eu channel and this eCoach 360-degree community is really about building an international brain trust. We're leaving the where did the ball go era behind us. The future of coaching belongs to the players and professionals who truly understand movement, who leverage AI and data, and who are actually willing to learn collaboratively.
Absolutely. You can be on the ground floor of this shift. We're asking you to support the movement by subscribing to the golf247.eu podcast channel. Join the eCoach 360-degree community. Like we said, it's entirely free.
Yeah, totally free.
Engage in the discussions, challenge ideas, share it with your weekend foursome, your local pros, and your students. The tools for true improvement are finally accessible, but you do have to actively engage with them.
We're stepping away from the Band-Aid fixes here. We're moving past the dopamine hits of 15-second swing hacks. We're really stepping into a new era of actual biomechanical understanding.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with this. If unlocking our physical potential in a highly complex sport like golf now requires us to completely abandon the quick fix in favor of deep, data-driven community learning. In what other areas of your life are you still settling for a quick tip when you really need to understand the underlying mechanics?